Sam. She's going to be talking female high performance. She has a great talk today. I'm really excited to hear. I'll let her give you a better introduction on all the awesome stuff that she does with her company and how it can help you guys. But also, we're going to be doing a drawing at the end to win this beautiful pre-COVID white wine. I don't even know how to say it. Viognier? Yeah, exactly. It's probably delicious. You have to forgive my French. And I'm going to now cut it on over to Sam so she can go ahead and give her introduction. Yeah. So let's all give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you guys all for coming here today. A couple friends of mine and new faces. Cool. So my name is Sam. I am the co-founder of Feminine High Performance. And we work with women to optimize their health, their energy, and their performance. So I actually have a business partner. Her name is Lily. She was unable to make it today, but I'll be taking over this talk. So before I dive into everything, I want to talk a little bit more about myself and share a little bit of my story with you guys and how I got into this. So I grew up in a competitive environment with this feeling to constantly prove myself. When I was 13 years old, a typical day looked like waking up at 5 a.m. I'd go for a 2-mile run, and then I'd go to school throughout the whole day. I'd come home, I'd go to training for 2 to 3 hours, get home again, and my mom would cook us dinner, and then I would eat, train again, do some homework, and then go to sleep. Maybe I'd get an hour of TV in. And this training, consistency, discipline, hard work, it led me to becoming a second-degree black belt, a 3-time state champion, and a world qualifier, and part of the all-women's demonstration team, like the highest one in Nevada, by the age of 13. So it was a cool experience, right? It was positive encouragement and regular reinforcement that led me to become addicted to that feeling of success. That's where it started. This high achieving started for me. My ego encouraged me to exceed other people's expectations by making mine even higher. So I don't know if you've ever had this encounter with like a friend or a coworker, and you're comparing your to-do list for the day, and you're like, well, mine is this long and theirs is this long. And then now it's a competition. Who is doing more? Who is working harder? And, you know, that was something that I started to fall into. And failure was not an option for me because I correlated failure with shame, with weakness. And if I was failing, that means something was going wrong. So when I turned 19, I was working 3 jobs. And so this carried over until all my teen years. I was working 3 jobs. I was going to school full time. I was studying for my personal training license. I started an online business, and I just competed in my first bodybuilding show. So that to-do list that I just mentioned, I won. I felt like I was working the hardest, and busy was not only my middle name, it was my entire identity. I was nothing without my to-do list. I was nothing without this long list of achievements. My confidence was through the roof, but my self-esteem didn't even exist. And that's because I didn't spend time alone. I never rested. I never got to know myself. I did not know my passion. And if there was ever a moment of silence or stillness, how do I fill it was the answer to that. How do I get more done? How do I become more productive? How do I make more money? How do I feel this? I couldn't sit alone with myself. Society told me I needed to do more. I needed to be better. I needed to work harder. And so I did. Because I had this belief, I thought that meant I was meant for true greatness. And the only way to get there was to work hard, do more. And I remember at that time I had about $3,000 to my name that I was okay with, giving all away. And this is when I started my e-commerce store. So guess what happened? I had $3,000. I was okay with risking it all, and it completely failed. I lost every penny, and that's a whole nother story we can get into later. But luckily, I was raised by 2 entrepreneurs, and I learned from a young age that's what owning a business is. There's highs, there's lows, there's risks, and there's reward. And so I saved up another, couple extra $100, and I didn't give up, and I did it again. And I invested all this money into an e-commerce store. And I gave it one more shot, and I launched this product, and in less than 2 weeks, I was able to 5x my investment. So I was like, oh, It's kind of cool, you know? I'm still 19 at this time, still working 3 jobs, still doing all of the things. And finally, I'm getting some reward from it. I got a taste of success and I was able to build a 6-figure business in under a couple of months. I ran my body to the ground though. I was constantly chasing after material things and I was constantly in high stress, high anxiety. I was battling depression. I stopped taking care of my health. I stopped working out. I stopped sleeping. I stopped hanging out with friends. I eventually stopped feeling emotions. So at that point, I was already a personal trainer. I had already competed in a bodybuilding show, and I already knew how to eat and how to train for my body. I knew all the tools, I had them, yet I didn't take them. I was out of alignment. I was out of alignment with my purpose. I never took the time to to know myself. I have always operated from this hyper masculine energy, and I did not tune into my hormonal gifts. I was glorified by the world for how many things that I got done. I was put on a pedestal for always running on empty. I was told that that was the way, that was the right way, that I'm on the right track, and nobody knew that I was dying inside. I was the most unhappy I'd ever been, and yet the world looked at me like I was a real high performer, that I was special, that I was going to do great things. And again, dead inside is how I felt. But at what cost? I was eating half of a meal a day, and that's how I stayed skinny. So that's how I, maintained a decent physique. And I was running off of 300 milligrams of caffeine per day. So it was a coffee in the morning, pre-workout in the middle of the afternoon, a shot of espresso in the evening, and an energy drink at night. And that's how I maintained this high throughout the whole day without ever crashing. And I got more and more done. And I was addicted to that because it felt really good. But the second you take the caffeine away, I wasn't a person. And it was like I had all these Band-Aids and I was suppressing all of these things. And my body was so depleted, so malnourished, began to fight back physically. So this showed up as hair loss, headaches, nosebleeds. I didn't have a nosebleed ever in my life, and I just kept getting nosebleeds. Lack of emotions, body aches, and no energy. So what happened after that? I hit my version of rock bottom. Something had to give. All of these Band-Aids were being planted, and then all of a sudden, it just broke. And I reached my total burnout. I quit my business, I moved in with my parents, and I had to rediscover myself, who I was, what my passions were, because you can only suppress all of these things for so long. And this pivotal experience leads me to where I am today with you ladies. I help women create greater success in their life with more balance, more fulfillment, better health, performance, while releasing overwhelm, anxiety, and depression. So I don't know about you guys, but have you ever found yourself hunched over the computer at the end of the day, and suddenly you realize the only thing you ate today was like half a granola bar from the vending machine, and then you're just like, oh, oops, and you don't even realize. Your body starts to forget when it's not in that pattern of taking care of itself. And sometimes we're so focused on getting the job done that taking care of our bodies just goes right out the window. We're taught to celebrate the entrepreneur who works 18-hour days and runs off of 3 hours of sleep. And the reality is no one can sustain going 100 miles an hour a day, all day, without experiencing some sort of ramifications to their health, their work, their relationships, and their life. The hustle and grind mentality of entrepreneurship can make us susceptible to depression, ADHD, substance abuse, bipolar disorder, and so many more things. So let me know if any of this inner dialogue sounds familiar. I didn't get enough done today. I am such a slacker. Maybe raise your hand if you've ever said this to yourself. Once or twice. I didn't push myself hard enough in my workout. I suck. Something like that. Along the lines. I ate super unhealthy food today. I clearly have no willpower. Attempting to motivate yourself through fear, guilt, and shame is waking up a flood of stress every single morning. A continuous loop of self-abuse, emotional abuse, a pattern that maybe you've seen in your life. And it doesn't have to be this way. It's time to open the doors to true alignment and attune true alignment in your mind, your body, and your spirit. So your feminine nature is designed to be strong, emotionally attuned, analytical, insightful, creative, playful, nurturing, spontaneous, dynamic, and reliable. Femininity itself is power. We have led to believe that it is our weakness, when in fact it is our greatest gift. Many women feel disconnected from their hearts and are constantly in their heads, rationalizing, strategizing, and being busy. So many of us don't know how to listen to this inner voice. We're stressed, we're drained, and we're exhausted most of the time. If you're living on autopilot, maybe you don't really feel engaged with life. If you're not allowing yourself to just feel and just be. Your feminine energy is not a weakness. Your feminine energy is not a weakness. And I'm saying that twice because I needed to hear it a million times. If you feel you lived mainly in your masculine energy, I encourage you to tune in and to embrace your feminine nature. You'll experience more empathy, softness, compassion, feelings, intuition, connection, and understanding. This will allow you to magnetically attract what you want rather than fighting for what you want and constantly overworking yourself. You'll have less stress putting projects into development and letting them go at their natural pace versus rushing it versus pushing it. You'll enjoy the process of creation and see a bigger picture. You'll create more community and you'll connect emotionally and physically to life by relating to others, by sharing, and by nurturing. Did you know the number of women who experience work-related stress is 50% higher than that of men? Women suffer more stress because we have completely different hormonal systems. Stress increases cortisol, which can induce a number of inconvenient health problems, such as headaches, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, PMS symptoms, storing more body fat, trouble sleeping, weaker immune system, lower sex drive, fertility issues, higher blood pressure, pain, inflammation, and the list goes on and on. All of these health issues get in the way of a woman's ability to perform and do her best work. And for generations, women have silently suffered, not realizing why we aren't outperforming men, or when we are outperforming men, why are we so burnt out? And why are we having a harder time recovering? So how many of you know what the circadian rhythm is? Okay, so the circadian rhythm is the 24-hour cycle a day. And it is no secret that our culture values and prioritizes the masculine energy. So our daily routines run off of this 24-hour cycle that is a masculine cycle. And what the circadian rhythm hormonally looks like in a healthy, balanced male is they wake up in the morning, their testosterone and their cortisol are at their highest levels, and this leads them to being energetic, communicative, laser focused, and super efficient in getting things done. In the afternoon, it begins declining. It begins declining. So this puts him in more of a mood to socialize. And you can tell me if this is correct or you feel it. Okay. It starts to decline, which puts you more in in a mood to socialize and connect with people. And this is when you'll want to pitch to clients, network, or meet up for a date. And in fact, happy hour was actually created for the male's circadian 24-hour clock rhythm. In the evening time, testosterone levels will begin to wind down, and this making his home a more comfortable place. His estrogen will begin to be more sensitive, and he'll be generally more interested in resting on the couch or finding ways to quiet his mind. So if that sounds familiar at all, this schedule lines up perfectly with a typical day of mostly everybody, male or female. We wake up early, we start our emails, we get on our to-do list, we push a little bit past our peak productivity, and then we get off work, we blow off some steam, we maybe hit up happy hour, we collapse in front of the TV, read a book, whatever it may be. For a man, he can repeat this 365 days a year and have no problem at all. For a woman, we actually have another cycle in addition to the circadian clock. So we do run off of this 24-hour cycle, but we also have a 28-day cycle as well. And this is called the infradian rhythm, which again is 28 days, about, give or take. So our energy or productivity is not based on where we at in the day, but where we are in our 28-day cycle. And when, you know, our social cues aren't really based on when happy hour time is. And when men start resting in the evening, our rest period it correlates to where we're at in our month. So did you know the majority of productivity, health, fitness, nutrition, entrepreneurship advice out there are studies that are done on men and by men? It's okay. Researchers have argued that it is easier. Researchers have argued that it's easier and less expensive to facilitate experiments on male patterns versus the fluctuations that happen in the female body. So it is no wonder females and women feel like they aren't thriving as much as they would like to be, because we are living in a man's world with this lack of knowledge and lack of understanding of the female physiology, showing up every day as if we have small male bodies. So if we step into our feminine energy and we are living in tune with our cyclical nature, we can optimize the way that we live. So syncing with our cycles is the simplest and most effective way to enhance our hormonal health and create sustainable success in all areas of our life, our career, our relationships, our fitness, our nutrition, and our mental health. When you learn to train with and nourish your cycle, you'll find yourself building energy versus draining it, feeling good in your body all month long, feeling powerful and confident and empowered because you know what's going on with your systems, feeling less stressed but getting more done, effortlessly maintaining a healthy weight, creating more enjoyment from your work, feeling aligned with your creativity, and feeling like your body is a clear channel for your passion and your purpose to come through. Syncing with our cycles is the ultimate biohack for women's health. And it is not talked about enough. It is not talked about in the corporate world. It is not taught. I was not taught this in school, and it is not something that the entrepreneurship realm supports. So, how many phases of our hormonal cycle do we have? Does anyone know? Yeah, you know. So a lot of us think that we have two. Like, we're ovulating, which is the time that I can get pregnant, or menstruating, which is, why did God do this to me? This is the worst thing. Somebody give me some chocolate. So we actually have 4 phases in our cycle. Or menopause. Well, yeah. Or there's menopause. But yeah, this part right here, we're going to only talk about, the phases of our hormonal cycle pre-menopause and post going into your hormonal cycle. So when in fact we have four phases: our menstruating, our follicular, our ovulatory, and our luteal. And each of these phases gives us unique gifts that we can actually tap into. And I just want to say that we are capable of anything at any given time, but there are certain things that are going to fill our energy versus take away from us. So the female brain actually changes up to 25% in this 28-day cycle. So have you ever felt like you're just not the same person day to day, or from like 1 week and then the next week it's just completely different? Your brain actually does change 25%. And this is only in female bodies. So again, this is about 40 years or so of your life. And you can still tap into these patterns after menopause, because that's what your body has been attuned to. And you can still utilize the gifts as well. So for now, let's just break it up into 2 cycles. And we'll have the first half and the second half of our cycles. So in the first half, this is when our estrogen, our hormones, are at its highest. So this is when we'll have an increase in our mental sharpness. We'll have more creativity, we'll have better communication skills, and our estrogen is also higher. So this enhances the release of serotonin, which is our happiness neurotransmitter, which is very nice. So essentially, in this time span, we can pump out a ton of work, a ton. We can get laser focused, we can get dialed in, and we can complete a bunch of tasks and ideas. In the second half, our hormones begin to fall. And this is when we can turn more inward. And a lot of us think when our hormones fall, this is the crappy end of the month. Let me just get through this next week or two. And this is when I'm PMSing. This really sucks. But actually, this is when you are able to think strategically, analyze and review where you are in life, and synthesize with how you feel. And you're able to do this because your right and your left brain hemisphere are communicating better because of this hormonal drop. And I think that it's really cool that the polarity of all of this. We get the first half of our cycle to focus our attention outward, to build community, to create ideas, to work hard, to get a ton of things done. And then we have the second half where we can tune into ourselves. How can I take care of myself? How did all of that work go? How can I tap into my intuition and learn a little bit more about what I want to bring into this next project? And we get this moment of just stillness and rest that we can bring into ourselves. So, however, if your hormones are imbalanced, there are a couple reasons why that your hormones will be imbalanced, mostly because you are malnourished or being overly stressed can cause these issues. In the first half of your cycle, you might overdo it and start pulling all-nighters, starting too many projects, and experiencing high anxiety. So this is when your hormones are just out of whack, and if you've ever experienced that, it could be due to that. In the second half of your cycle, you could experience more brain fog, more depression, more moodiness, and lack of motivation. So our mission at Feminine High Performance is to help burnt out female entrepreneurs and high achieving women achieve greater success by optimizing their health, their energy, and their performance naturally in a holistic way. Our approach is different because it is based on the female-centric research and experiences. And Lily, who's not here, her and I have leveraged our 30 years of combined experience to teach hundreds of women the most effective strategies to go from this burnt out to living in harmony and purpose with their natural cycle. And this is through learning how to nourish and train their female physiology. So common results we see are increased energy, increased mood, productivity, income, impact, fulfillment, free time. How many of you want more free time? And pleasure with way less stress. So we are seeing women creating insane results using this nutrition and workout and productivity protocol, and balancing hormones, significantly reducing PMS symptoms. So PMS symptoms, they are common, but they are not normal. Typically the reason why the reason why you do see PMS symptoms is because your estrogen levels are imbalanced, and this imbalance can cause a whirlwind of backaches, to headaches, to acne. But being better in tune with our bodies and our needs during each phase of the cycle can really help us. And we had this one client, she was able to stop all PMS symptoms, and she was able to tap into her flow state and knock out a ton of work without feeling that guilt or shame at the end of the month, when her body no longer wanted to work as hard, push as hard, and needed that rest time. When her body needs rest, she's able to take that time to nurture herself. And with that extra care, she again is able to step away from all the shame and the guilt that she puts on herself. This has led her to develop a deeper, sustainable success, creativity, and did I mention income? Yes, you can make more money by doing less and living more in you. So no longer living in a world of addiction, high stress, overwhelm, and anxiety. So our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, we get in these things called pleasure loops. And we get addicted to the way that stress feels. We've been doing it for so long that when we try to step away from it, your body is like, this is how we have survived our whole lives. And now you want to break away. How am I supposed to survive without this? This is how I protect you. So changing up our neurotransmitters as well along the process. allows us to release the stress and overwhelm. She feels freedom, joy, and pleasure each day. So she's showing up for her kids better. She's showing up for her family better. Sometimes we look at, a woman's progress and we look at a picture and we see, okay, here's a before picture and an after picture. And that's how we judge somebody's progress. But what's happening inside? What's happening in the family? What's happening in your relationship? How are you showing up better for your kids? Are you excited when you wake up in the morning? Do you wake up with all of this joy, this fulfillment? Do you jump out of bed and you're ready to take on the world? Or is there an underlying pull that's dragging you down a bit and you don't know where it's coming from? Anyways, to wrap up, we want every woman to have these unstoppable superpowers, and that's why we created Feminine High Performance, and that is why we will continue to push our message out there and empower women and their bodies. Thank you all for coming.